Well, guess what?
What?
We're live tonight on the Me and Jesse podcast. And you know what? Mark and I figured, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
We know what we're talking about to a certain degree. Right?
Well, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and we're almost going into December.
Yes.
It's been 11 months straight of phenomenal guests, and fans have been asking when we're going to do our own, just me and you, going to do an unplugged show and talk about all the issues of sports. And I said, that's going to take about a month, right? And I said, but we'll try to squeeze as much as possible into this singular episode. And we're going to start doing that a little more in the new year as well. We're going to always have guests on our show, but there is going to be the odd time when we're going to do an unplugged version where you and I just discuss what's going on in sports.
Because what I've discovered is that most people like to listen to me.
Yes, I'm a sidekick. You're the star of the show. I'm the me and Jesse, so I'm okay with it. I mean, I've spent my whole lifetime being a star, so I mean, it's fine. I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
We get back right after the break. We're gonna actually blow up the NFL here because it needs to be said. We'll be right back on the Me and Jesse podcast.
Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavelich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and...
Welcome back, everyone, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavelich from the far, far west, and in the Grove, the one and only, the big sexy, everybody, Jesse Martineau.
Cheers.
Oh, what do you got there? Uh-oh.
Little Purple City Triple IPA from SYC down the road in Edmonton.
Oh, I love that.
It's
I love
very
that.
Good. It's very good.
Very
good.
And they're located in Edmonton.
Yeah, on the west end.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. They'll even deliver to Spruce Grove if you want them to. You gotta hustle in this day and age, man. Gotta learn to hustle.
It's all about that. It is. If you have no choice, it's just the way the world's shaping up.
It is. Hopefully that changes soon.
Well,
but you know what hasn't changed?
No.
The inconsistency in the NFL. Isn't that ironic? The most consistent thing about the NFL today is how inconsistent it is. The reffing this year has been atrocious.
Deplorable.
Teams I hate. Okay, I don't like the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You above everybody else I know hates the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But that game last week, the pass interference call, four of them. The last one was and I know it's your beloved Raiders, so I don't want to say it. But Carr,
no, you're right.
Carr absolutely underthrows the ball.
You're right. No, Jesse.
The receiver has to go back and reach for it, and the Raider guy's just running down.
Yeah, I know. Listen, do you think for 1 second, listen, one thing about anything, I could be a fan of whatever team and hate whatever team, but one thing I do want in sport, and I've always been this way, and I think you know this, I want it to be played fair, okay? I want it to be flipped, and at some of those calls, I was looking up above saying thank you, but it because they were so bad.
Well, the funny thing is that usually it's the Cowboys that benefit from that kind of stuff.
Always, yeah.
Although, unless they're playing Green Bay.
Yeah, that's right.
Des Bryant. Yeah. But yeah, it's the inconsistency in the NFL this year is absolutely atrocious, and it doesn't just stop at the reffing, does it?
Yes.
Mark and I were very interested, as I think many of you would be too, to look at other sports and how clean or not clean they are in terms of their athletes and the real world. You know, you think about hockey, you don't get a, you know, lately we've had a big sexual abuse thing, and again, there is own issues. But when you think about it, hockey and other sports, baseball and stuff, it's not, you players don't get in as many troubles with the law as it seems players in the NFL do. The most recent that we can think of is another Raider. Man, your team's had some real bad luck this year.
Yeah.
But Henry Ruggs, you know, driving 200 kilometers an hour and kills someone and finds himself in jail, or will probably, we think anyway, find himself in jail. But there's been some inconsistency in that as well, hasn't there, Mark?
Well, you know what's funny? We were talking about this the other day, and this is why the show came about today. You and I love the NFL. I mean, obsessively love the NFL. Now, you know what the crazy part is? That's why we can talk from a very objective point of view, the two of us today, because we love it so much that we're going to point out some things to people today on this show that it's going to be jaw dropping. Okay. Because we were talking the other day, you and I off episode, and I said to you, Jesse, I think Ruggs will do 3 to 4 years in jail. He'll get out early. They'll let him out the back door. They won't let him out the front door. So no one will really know when he got out. You know what I mean? Because after a year or two, people kind of forget. And then in the third year, he'll go out the side door and no one will make a big hoopla out of it. And I said to you after that, and I know this, and this might be too soon, everybody. I know everybody's thinking out there, oh my God, I can't believe we're talking about this today. But it's just not Ruggs. It's everybody. I said that Ruggs will be back in the NFL in the next 5 years. He won't play for the Raiders. He'll have to leave. He'll have to leave Nevada, but he'll play somewhere else in the NFL. He'll show up somewhere, you know, in the back door of the Jets. He'll show up out east somewhere. You know, it'll be out east. It has to be out east, right? He'll play for someone out east. He'll play for the Giants. He'll play for the Jets. And then me and you started almost disgustingly laughing about it, because that's what's going to happen. And then people would say at home he's never going to play in the NFL. And then you and I went and did some research over the weekend, and we found out that the buffoonery that's gone on in the NFL, what we found out is the NFL doesn't give a rat's ass about any of this stuff. They care about winning. They care about numbers. There is 27 active NFL players who have been arrested multiple times.
Not just once.
No, 2, 3, 4.
Multiple.
And
multiple times. 27 active right now in the NFL. That's a whole hockey team.
Yes.
A whole hockey team has had multiple arrests.
Okay, when I say multiple too, that's not just 2.
No.
The majority more are 3, 4, we have up to 5, okay? And we have some guys that you wouldn't even believe. Like names like, wait a second, I had to wear my glasses today for this one. Charles Woodson.
Hall of Famer. Recently.
My beloved Charles Woodson has been arrested twice. Talib, the one brother, has been arrested twice. Not just listen, we're talking about guns, weapons, assault, battery. These are not just DUIs, okay?
Which there is a mountain of those.
Yeah, and let's not forget the Grand Poobah, Ray Rice, and Michael Vick. Okay, Ray Rice basically shit-canned his girlfriend from one end of the hotel to the other. It was on video. We all watched it. He ragdolled her. He picked her up by her hair. He did everything to her. And we're just pointing this out today in the NFL. The insaneness that is going on, and they're allowing this. So when I said that Ruggs, and people could get mad all they want, but when Ruggs is going to end up playing in the NFL in 5 years, don't call me up on the phone and say, Mark, I don't want to be right about it, because I think it's disgusting.
Right.
I think Ruggs should not play in the NFL ever again, but he will. And it goes along with the Ray Rices of the world, the Michael Vicks, the culture that is involved. There is now.
What about a boy in Baltimore?
Oh, Ray Lewis. And I love Ray Lewis, right? And I do, but he's in the Hall of Fame. Michael Vick right now. What's Michael Vick doing? He's on Fox Sports right now. He is the Fox 1-hour NFL pregame show airing on Sundays during NFL season. Michael Vick is that guy right now. We're talking about.
The funny thing is that Michael got the stiffest penalty. He actually went to jail.
Well, he was running a dog.
Yeah, I understand, but you look at people that have murdered people, or hey, man, when you right cross your old lady in the jaw and you drag her out by the hair,
on video.
On video, and you don't
On
get
video.
to do any time. Something's wrong. Now, Ray Rice didn't get to play again. Like, he was one of the ones that they scapegoated. But Tyreek Hill,
Yeah.
Delvin Cook just had another incident.
We have all kinds of names on it. We have Des Bryant. We have Dante Whitner. We have Randy Starks. We have Frosty Rutger, who plays for the Cardinals.
What about our boy Marshawn?
Oh, and there's another one I couldn't believe. I love Marshawn Lynch.
Me too.
Okay, and so do you. And you know what the crazy part is? He's been arrested 5 times. 5 times. It's crazy. And who we didn't even know that. And some of the names, when I heard Charles Woodson, I was shocked because I love Charles Woodson. But you get
Well,
on
it goes to show that the NFL is interested in money.
Yes,
That is it. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
And this is why the Colin Kaepernick thing pisses me off.
Yes, and this is what you're right about, Jesse. And
This
when you
is-
brought that up, you're 100% correct.
Listen to
Jesse,
this.
This is the whole basis of the show today because Jesse Martineau and I have debated about Colin Kaepernick for a long time. The debate is over now. It'll be finished today.
Colin Kaepernick, is going around the world right now claiming that it's a race thing that he's not playing. This is where we disagree because we just listed off, and the list is huge. There's 27 active players in the NFL that have been in trouble with the law. The list is miles long. Like, it's pages and pages and pages of history of the NFL and players being in trouble. They all get a pass to play. Why? Because they're good. Because the NFL wants them to win. Because the NFL wants money.
Yes.
If Colin Kaepernick was really, really that good, it didn't matter what was going on behind the scenes. It wouldn't matter if he took a knee. He could have urinated on the American flag and they still would have put him in because
100%.
they don't care about
100%.
anything that goes on off the field. They only care about winning and money.
You're right.
If
You're
he
right.
was good enough, and this is the big thing, if he was actually good enough, he would still be playing in the NFL, but he's not. It's not because of race. It's not because he got a short end of the stick on that. We've proven it time and time again with you can punch out your old lady. You can smack your kid in the face. You can fight dogs. You can hit someone with a car. You can blame murdering someone on someone else and get away with it.
Yeah.
And they all get to play again. Something like taking a knee and it just doesn't line up. He isn't good enough to play in the NFL. That's the bottom line of that one.
Yes.
And
That's
so
over.
you can't, the argument's over. You can't make it up anymore because the Netflix documentaries, the Nike ads, you can't buy it anymore because you look at all the other discrepancy going on. Guys arrested right now. Guys, and I don't understand. I really don't get it. Like, selling weed when you're already a millionaire. Like, you're making millions of dollars and you get busted for selling weed. Like,
Do you know
why?
Jesse, a lot of these have gun charges.
Gun charges,
okay.
yeah, big time.
Now let me run this back for you. The guys that have gun charges went to Division I schools, okay, which was paid for by the school.
Sure.
Which means they lived a very cushy 3 to 4 years in university. They might have showed up to class once in a while, but trust me, they came up cushy. They got to the NFL, got a $10 million contract, and the first thing they thought to be was a gangster.
Yeah. And I don't care what your life was before, but you have to realize that you've had a chance to do something different.
Yes.
And that's the excuse that I don't buy. And I don't buy that, well, I was brought up this way, so that's it. No, we see all the time people changing their lives.
We have friends. We have friends.
And they don't need $10 million to do it.
No.
They don't need $10 million. They don't need to play in the NFL. They just realize, hey, I don't want to live like that anymore. That isn't the way I want to live. And so I don't. I change.
No, I'm with you 100% on this one. Now because we did the research over the weekend, and I was looking at the research, and I started reading all this stuff, and I couldn't forget it. They have multiple lists, guys. Go out and check for yourself.
It's
First
ridiculous.
Of all, if you want to go singular arrest, there's hundreds.
Yeah,
singular
it's
arrest,
pages.
there's pages and pages and pages. Now, when you talk about multiple arrests, and when they were talking about multiple, they're talking about 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, and most of them were 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, like arrests. And a lot of them have gun charges, and drug charges. And another one, domestic abuse at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So what we're watching now on television is, listen, and Jesse and I, this is why we can talk about this, because we love the NFL. We love the NFL. But there's a huge underlining factor. And listen, Colin Kaepernick, I love what you've done. You know why? Because you've outsmarted everybody. You actually outsmarted everybody, and you did. And I amen to that. And I'm going to give you all the credit in the world for that. Do I agree with you kneeling during the national anthem? I'm going to say on this show for the first time ever, 1,000% not. Okay? I don't agree with it. Do I agree with you making all the money you're making now? It's the American way.
Yeah. You found a way.
You found it's the American way. I've seen it a million times.
It's like the Paul brothers. They found a way. Like, you can't argue. Like,
no.
You got to give him props for doing it.
Yeah.
And Colin did. He found a way.
He's sitting on the bench one day. Can you imagine, in San Francisco, third string quarterback, and he says to himself, "You know what, man? I'm growing the fro out. I'm going to start making some difference in my life. I had a maybe a C+ career in the NFL. No problem. What am I going to do? I'm going to kneel down. No one's going to really know for sure because I'm the third string quarterback, so no one's really going to pay attention." All of a sudden, he probably was kneeling down about 4 games prior, but no one caught it because he was so far behind. And then all of a sudden, they caught it that one day. They caught it that one day. There he was kneeling down, and then that's where it started. And everybody, once again, keep in mind, Obama was the president of the United States when he said that. Yeah. Okay, so when he started his whole trend to do this stuff, it wasn't Trump, it was Obama. And the crazy part is Colin Kaepernick has made more money with this one, and I'm going to call it what it is, a stunt, with this one stunt than he made in his whole NFL career.
Sure. Absolutely. He called up his friend LeBron and they figured it out.
Yeah.
Speaking of LeBron and one of the Trumps, Donald Trump Jr., and I quote, said this about LeBron today or the other day. LeBron James is the biggest bitch in pro sports. What do you think about that?
Well, the reason why, because you know what happens now? What happens now is, listen, I think LeBron is one of the top 3 of all time basketball players.
Sure, that's not the argument.
No, but you know what happens now, right? Because he's in a situation now where certain people prior to him that came along, like rest in peace, Lee Elder, he died today. A very famous golfer that was the first African-American that ever played at the Masters. See, those guys, you know what they did? They really did lay the groundwork for you. They spoke up, but they didn't just speak up. They showed by their actions and how they conducted themselves. Can I bring up someone else too? Sure. Muhammad Ali. Okay, he showed people how it needed to be. You know what's funny? The African American community is even mad at LeBron. You know why? Because he doesn't say anything. He keeps his mouth shut about real issues. You know what I'm saying? When maybe he should have spoke up at certain times.
Well,
but
he speaks up through Twitter. And again, like...
Yeah, but I'm saying is, but that's no good. They have to hear his voice. He has to hear his voice. You're one of the best players in the world. The problem with
LeBron is that usually when he speaks up, it's very, like, he's super emotional about it. So, and it's like, I'm just angry. And then he deletes the tweet later. But he actually, like, got 2 people courtside kicked out last game.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, dude. Like, and then he whined about getting a suspension for fighting the game before. And you're like, seriously.
But we forget sometimes too, Jesse. We forget about LeBron and everybody that plays in the NHL, NFL, NBA. They're young.
Yeah.
They're young. We forget that. We forget. Listen, I wrote a tweet one time where I said Derek Carr had a low football IQ. Him, his brother, his cousins, they all blocked me on Twitter. You know how many Raiders follow me on Twitter? About 10.
Yeah.
To this day. So you know why he did.
To prove your point, though, Carr did like the tweet at first.
Yeah, but he liked it to be smart.
Because I just think he has regular low IQ in general.
Yeah, maybe because he didn't read the entire. I think you're right. That's what happened. So, but you know what happened then? And then I realized after I shouldn't have wrote the tweet. I never took it down, but I shouldn't have wrote it. And the reason why I said I shouldn't have wrote it was because at that time, I think he was 24 years old. Okay. And at 24 years old, did you see what happened when Bosa said he buckles when there's ever pressure on him? Carr will fold
right
like a cheap lawn chair. the second there's pressure on him.
Sure.
Then they interviewed Carr after, and Carr said, I don't know why he said that about me. We're friends, and Bosa's like, we're not friends. I want to sack that guy every time I want to see him. I want to put pressure on him.
Yeah.
And he got all touchy about it. And then I started to wonder to myself, you know what the problem is? These kids have been spoiled their entire life. Everybody's been telling them how great they are. You know what happens? All of a sudden someone comes and says, you ain't so great lately. You lost 3 in a row prior to the Dallas game, right? People are shitting all over him. He's all touchy about it. Then you know what? I see him in a press conference for the first time in his life, and he used the word shit. He used because he doesn't do that, right?
No.
He got all kind of amped up. And you know what I said? It's about time. You got to get mad. You got to get mad because no one gives a shit in the NFL if you're touchy or your feelings got hurt, or same with LeBron. If LeBron. And listen, I'm going to say on the show, LeBron's top 2 to 3 of all time basketball player. You think right now, listen, and I like LeBron. You know what the problem is, though? No one cares when you act like a baby. No one cares. Like, it
makes it worse for yourself.
Yes.
You have no reason to whine.
No, just take a
everything's been honestly, LeBron.
100%.
The refs give you every call. They give you every benefit of the doubt. The league.
He travels. How many times in a game he travels?
Game.
No.
But the league gives him the benefit of the doubt. 99% of the time, he's got no reason to complain. Yet he still does. And you're right. That's a bigger issue. That's an attitude thing. Like, I've been handed everything my whole life. I'm entitled now. I should be because I'm LeBron.
But you look at the NHL, you look at the kid that plays in the NHL, and all of a sudden he's from Podunk, wherever in Canada, and he plays in the OHL, and that in the OHL he's the rock star, and then he goes to the NHL and he's walking around the city like his shit don't stink. And what happens? He thinks he's Elvis, and he's making $6 million a year, and he doesn't care about nothing, and he acts like he doesn't care about nothing. And you know what the problem is? That's the problem. Because it doesn't. I'm not going to just shit on the NFL today. I'm going to talk about the culture in general. Look at the greats of the world, how they treated people. The Wayne Gretzky's of the world.
Sure.
I could go on and on.
I mean, Gretzky had whined on the ice, but
yeah. But I'm talking about publicly how he conducted himself. A lot of even people that were on our show recently, like all the great players we had from the NFL, look how they conduct themselves. Didn't matter what color they were. It didn't matter what nationality they were. That's nothing. Doesn't come to that. It comes about who you are as a person. And that's something that has to get across the NFL. But the leader of the NFL is the one that allows this. Okay.
Well, yeah, it does ultimately rest on his shoulders. I 100% agree.
That's why he gets so much money every year. Go Google it all you want. Go check how much he makes every year. And then you tell me, because he lets it go. The owners love him. The owners love him, the commissioner. They want, hey, you want more money? We'll give you more money. You know why? Because when number 24 on the 27 list does something wrong, he makes sure he can fix that problem.
How about Robert Kraft? Let's not forget about that. That's an owner of an NFL team. Hundreds of...
Where'd that go?
In a box of macaroni and cheese.
Where'd it go?
That's right. It's gone. Like, it doesn't... There's no consistency. The consistency is there is none. And it's atrocious because you watch, and again, we love it, but it could be so much better.
You know, if Kraft would have did that as a Major League Baseball owner, for something different in baseball.
Well, hey, what about
he would have been excommunicated from the Major League Baseball if that.
Well, how does he get a pass, but Gruden doesn't?
I don't know. Because maybe Gruden's not up the food chain.
So like racism. I mean, I guess that. I mean, yeah, there's some racist things, there's some homophobic things. Fine, whatever. But there's being said where this guy commits actual crimes.
Yes.
With underage people, and you get a pass, but you don't.
Yes.
Now, it is a sign of the culture that we live in, 100%, with the cancel culture and the witch hunts and the whatever is going on there. So there is part of that, but the NFL has to also be called into question, because how do you let one thing happen and the other be fine? It doesn't make sense.
No.
And it's translating to the field where you get one call one day and the next day the same thing happens and it's something else. The whole thing is a mess. And you know what? They don't care, because at the end of the day, it's about money, and they're still making it, and they're going to make a lot more.
Correct. And there's no one. How can you stop it? How can you change the culture of the NFL?
Well, you have to make examples of people. That's the only way. You have to actually come down with the law.
When's the last time they did that? Ray Rice.
They haven't.
Ray Rice is the last time they made anything like that, and that was a while ago.
Yeah.
So Ray Rice is the only one. I'm looking on my list. Michael Vick has been rewarded with.
He came back and played and did great.
And then now he's got a Fox Sports.
He's on Fox News or Fox Sports.
And then my daughter's generation doesn't know.
No.
What he did.
No. Because you wait long enough, you can forget it. I mean, what's the famous thing that Mark Cuban always said?
29 days, baby.
It's gone. You can forget about it. And yeah, there's things that might take longer, but eventually they're going to forget. And you can keep going. And that's what's happening all the time in the NFL. You look at your team, look at your favorite team right now, and you pull the rap sheet, see what's up, and you'll realize that, hey, these guys don't care. They do not care what's happening off the field. I mean, they might care. They obviously don't want them to, but they don't want to have to bury it.
Jesse, listen to this right now. On the San Francisco 49ers, Ray McDonald and Chris Cook right now are charged and have been arrested for domestic violence.
Yes.
Tony McDaniel, Kevin Williams from the Seattle Seahawks, both of them have been arrested for domestic violence. Brandon Marshall of the San Antonio and Santonio Holmes of the Chicago Bears have both been arrested for that. Greg Hardy of the Carolina Panthers and Eric Walden of the Indianapolis Colts. Can you imagine how there's more? I mean, the list goes on and on.
The domestic assault thing happens. It almost seems like it happens weekly.
It's
Tyreek Hill, Dalvin Cook. I mean,
crazy,
huge names in the NFL, and nothing happens. I mean, hey, when you think about the money attached to this, think about just even like fantasy sports, like in the betting, it is so big that if Dalvin Cook doesn't play, well, that throws off a lot of things. That throws off a lot of money in the big town. So you can't. You have to let him play. And that's the thing. Everything's so tied together with money that you can't ever have consequences anymore. Mm-hmm. And if you ever did pull the consequence card, well, jeez, man. I don't know what would happen. I really don't know what would happen. I mean, the only way to fix it, if you actually want to fix it, like I always say this about speeding tickets. If you really want to stop speeding, if they really cared about speeding, they would make a speeding ticket $10,000. Because not many people are going to speed at the risk of getting a $10,000 ticket. It's just not worth it. Yeah. But they want you to speed a little bit so they can pop you with a $150 ticket once in a while.
Every time.
If they really wanted to stop this in the NFL, they would kick you out of the league.
Yeah.
That's it. And you would think twice maybe, hey, I shouldn't do that. But they don't.
Ruggs will play in the NFL again.
I think you're right.
And Arnett, who played also for the Raiders, that they cut him from the team because the kid was going to be a phenom in the NFL. He also will he will also play in the NFL again one day.
Dude, it's mind-boggling, the stuff going on behind the scenes that they just sweep under the rug.
Are you forgetting about Plexico Burress?
Well, he got to where he shot himself.
And then ended up going to jail for a year.
He went to jail, actually.
Because you're not allowed to have that gun in New York.
No.
He had it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And he was playing at the time.
Yeah.
So he's walking around.
And they brought it into a club. Why?
Walking around, you're in the NFL. You can pay for security.
You're a real tough guy. You need to have a gun with you.
Yeah, have a gun pointed at your pecker, and then you shoot your pecker almost off. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. It's crazy, the mentality, you know?
I don't get it.
No,
I don't get it, but hey, the NFL is a breeding ground for this, and they're just enabling people to be idiots.
Listen, with the research we did this weekend, easily they are at the top of the list.
Yes.
They are at the top of the list. And then you have the NBA, you have Major League Baseball. But just because Major League Baseball has so many players and so many things, there's always going to be stuff going on. But NFL takes the they won the gold medal in this field, you know. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's
not one they should be proud of because it's It's an ongoing trend, that's for sure.
What do you think about the Raiders now?
I'm confused by them because I
don't think you're the only one.
Yeah, I don't know what, like, even against, like,
the reality is there's probably 5 or 6 teams that are confused. The Chargers are confusing. The Broncos are confusing.
Are you crazy? I watched that. I saw that game yesterday too, and I'm like,
where did this come from?
No clue. And I like, it's
the
so
Ravens
confusing.
are confusing even. Like,
yep.
What's going on?
Ravens look horrible.
It's a weird year.
It had to be the worst football game I've seen in 10 years. Cleveland and Ravens yesterday night.
Five
football.
Interceptions in the first half?
First half.
Wow.
It was horrible.
Now, in my fantasy team, I was playing against Nick Chubb, and he ended up with 4 points, which I was ecstatic about because, usually the guy could lead the league in yards. But it's been one of those years where it's just like all of a sudden anything that could implode on you.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield too is being exposed now. Like,
I think so too. I also do really believe he's very hurt.
Well, that's, and unfortunately that's where he has to do this because his market value is going down by the second.
Yeah.
So he has to immediately say,
I agree. I think he's at risk of losing his job.
I can't function because you could clearly see every time he ran out of bounds or whatever, he was hobbling back. And I'm like, Jesus, man, like, I get it. You want to gut it out, show everybody how tough you are, but the quality of your play is horrible.
Yeah, no, it absolutely has gone downhill. Even Lamar, and I'm not a big Lamar Jackson fan. I actually think he's got a very short shelf life left. But you can see there's like flashes of like actual like incompetency at the position.
Oh,
and it's like, oh man, you can't throw. And so I don't know. I think that there's a lot of that going on this year, and I don't know why it's happening this year, but it seems a lot of teams are going through that kind of up and like massively up and down.
I don't know like how to predict games anymore because I really thought we were going to lose by about 17 points in Dallas, and then we won in overtime.
Yeah,
and then I when we played the Giants, I thought we would beat them by 20 something points, and then we lost to them. And then we lost to Cincinnati, and I was like, really? Like, how does this happen? And once again, that's the Raider kind of format of doing things. They will play great against good teams, and then they'll kind of lay down against really shitty teams. But we're seeing that they're 6-4 or 5 record, whatever it is now. They will now play next week in They're playing Washington next week, right? So you don't know how to. How do you play that one out? Like, no one knows anymore. It's
they play like, Seattle tonight. Washington does.
Yeah, Washington does tonight, which is a benefit for the Raiders because they're playing on Monday, which gives them short week. So
right.
That usually, if you look at statistics over the years, that usually hurts teams.
What else is going on in the old sports world?
Well, great fight on the weekend. Fantastic fight. Lopez and Kambosos, the kid from Australia. Guy was a 13-1 underdog. 13-1. Undefeated record. Now, Teofimo Lopez and his father are both a disgrace to boxing.
Why?
They are shameful. This Teofimo Lopez was so delusional after the fight because he got blasted. He got sandblasted so bad in the fight. He couldn't think correctly. And at the end, he's screaming to the people telling that, oh, he won 10 rounds and the other guy only won 2 rounds and, blah, 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 and whatever the case may be. And his father was making all kinds of excuses. And I'm like, you know what? Just shut up. This kid from Australia shocked the world. Okay. And I'm talking, it was
what weight class are they?
140 something. I'll get the right number. But
yeah,
they were. It was an incredible fight because they thought it was going to be a cakewalk, and then he knocks down Lopez in the first round, and all of a sudden that changed the whole makeup of the fight. You got knocked down in the first round.
Right.
And people, like I said, this Kambosos guy from Australia. He's trouble, man. I don't know. These guys are like talking today about, Ryan Garcia, King Ryan and all these guys calling him out. And I'm like, about Garcia, Ryan, he has to be careful because he hasn't done anything in boxing. Okay. He has fought very low level opponents. He has an undefeated record. And we remember when he fought Luke Campbell in his last fight, he got knocked down in the fight. Right? He got knocked down. This kid will put him through the ropes. This kid will throw him into the third row. Okay, so people, you're very delusional about that. And I like Ryan Garcia. Okay, I like him a lot. I just think like his own mentor said it best. Canelo said the kid has all the talent in the world, but doesn't train like a guy that wants to be world champion.
Right.
Canelo Alvarez said that. Now, when Canelo Alvarez speaks, you listen.
Yeah.
End of story. He didn't shit talk Canelo back. He didn't say nothing. He shut his mouth, but he said, oh, he didn't really see it that way. And everybody sees it that way. This kid has all the talent of the world. And as you know, with some people that have a lot of talent, sometimes they don't hit their peak. They don't go to their peak. They get bored. They're very uninterested. And that's what it seems like to him. He been calling out this Cambosos kid right after he just beat Teofimo Lopez. Let me tell you, mistake. Big mistake.
Right.
Big.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm really happy that boxing is actually coming back into the forefront of things again, because it deserves to be. And it was one of the, greatest
it does deserve
spectacles of in the Tyson fights and the Ali fights and the Holyfield fights. I mean, those were amazing.
It has to come back. It has to come
back to that. There has to be.
Yeah,
now we have Fury, but you know what I mean. Like, it's starting to come back.
Yeah,
which is great. And again, thanks, Paul brothers. But
well, Tommy Fury and Jake Paul's fight's coming up. Was it not this week, but next week? Do you think
Tommy Fury's going to lose?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Because you know what? If you watch the fight prior, I thought Tommy Fury was much better. I had no idea. I never really watched him box too much, but then I started to Google him and check all his stuff out. And you know that in his last fight, he fought Jake Paul's sparring partner.
Yeah.
And I heard Jake Paul just mops the floor with his sparring partner, and they went the full distance. And so right there, that's enough to get Jake Paul interested and to be able to say he's fighting his first boxer now.
Yeah.
Because Tommy Fury's a boxer.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But I would rather see Jake Paul win to keep this rolling. I think it's.
Do you think it keeps going until they lose?
Yes. I think.
Floyd beat him, but that doesn't really count, does it?
No, that's the brother, though. The brother.
I know. But
the brother's made more money in boxing than most guys in the UFC and hasn't won a fight.
Well, we talk about that a lot with the vets that we get on the show. It's nice that these guys are getting paid, but it also brings all the attention to other sports like the UFC, other promotions that don't pay their athletes, and so when you can go on that card and make more than you've ever made in your entire lifetime.
Yes.
In 40 minutes. Well, you might want to head over there. But you got to give credit to the Paul boys. They paid off the girl that fought. Shoot, I just lost her name.
Amanda.
And so they said before, hey, she's getting paid. She's going to get paid for this. And I respect them for that, because they put the money where it is. Like, they could have taken more, but they paid the other people, and that's how it should be done. And
so I have a question for you. You have a fishing pole in the back?
Yes.
And I see on your Instagram lots that you are now like a world-class fly fisherman.
World-class.
And are you being sponsored?
Yeah, this is actually one of the sponsored rods here.
Let me see. What is that? Put it in the camera. Okay.
This is Reddington.
And they're legit.
Reddington. Yeah, they're really cool. Really fun company in Washington, and that and Rio, which best fly fishing line in the world, which is on that reel.
Is fly fishing technically a sport?
Yes.
So okay.
So is golf.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
same
that
neighborhood.
Sport fishing, like, it's interesting when people talk about the sport of it. I mean, I can see that. I don't know. I think of, surfing's a sport too, but I think of like fishing and surfing as a lifestyle.
Surfing's different though.
I think of fishing as the same way, as a lifestyle. Yeah. Like you got to be a little kooky sometimes. I wonder. Like, there was like grizzlies out last time we were out fishing, wandering through. I fell through the ice a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, tell everybody about that, Jesse. That's a real thing, man.
And ice fishing is my thing. I don't want to be outside in the winter, but my friends that I've made throughout the last, 6 months fishing, talked me into going ice fishing. And so I'm like, okay, let's go ice fishing. I have no idea what the hell's up with ice. I see people driving on it sometimes, ice road truckers. So anyway, I'm walking along the ice and everything's fine. And all of a sudden I just go sploosh right into the drink. And
How deep? How deep?
Oh, it's over my head.
Oh, wow.
And so, fortunately, I'm very weird. I think about every worst case scenario that could ever happen. And
So
I
you're
go
already
through my
thinking
brain
about
I've already planned it out, what I would do. And I did that.
And you did it.
I did that and got out of the ice.
Are you going to give me how it all went down?
Well, you go in and it's initially very cold, as you can imagine. But I said, hey, Wim Hof does this every day. So, hey, why can't I? So I just, control your breathing. Don't panic. And I would say that's the number one thing in any scenario. Don't panic.
Yeah.
And just waited. My buddy was there and he said, I got a rope. And I said, just throw it over. And I grabbed it. And you just pretend like you're a seal. And you seal your way up in the ice. And then you army crawl away. You don't stand up again because you might fall through again. But you slide your way along the ice back to where it's safe.
How far did you slide along the ice before you stood up?
Well, it's probably 20 feet or so.
Wow.
Yeah, so you want to make sure. And then fortunately we weren't 5 miles away. We were very close to where I had to change the clothes and stuff and dried off and went back to fishing.
On the lake?
On the lake.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's one of those things. I didn't realize how serious it was until my friend said, "Wow, that's really serious."
Yeah, that's serious. You could die.
Yeah.
You're
They're like,
falling
wow,
through ice.
man, there's a lot of people that die from that every year, I'm like, yeah, well, I guess so. But, in the moment, and that's one thing, your Minot is asking if I'm nuts. But,
yeah.
But, one of those things that I don't panic in those situations. I find myself in those, and I'm usually pretty calm. So, that's...
You were calm here, too.
And you know what? That's what you have to do. If you want to survive in the wild, that's what everyone says. You got to remain calm. And that's what I did.
What a story. Jesse Martineau falls through the ice.
I just wish there wasn't ice because I love fishing so much and I love fly fishing so much that the ice kind of hampers that. But I'm going to head down south in Alberta in a couple weeks to hit some of the open water.
Which one? Which place? Where was the places to go?
Well, all along the Rocky Mountains down south, there's tons of rivers, tons.
But they won't be frozen?
Not yet, no.
No.
No, unless some crazy thing happens. But usually down there it doesn't freeze like that because it's closer to BC, and so usually we're all right. But it's you got to drive a little bit, but who cares?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's just,
so what's going on with your Calgary Flames? Looking good.
Well, they're playing good. I think most people didn't believe that their defense was as good as it was.
Yeah, I did. I was one of them.
Yeah, and I know, and their goaltender is unreal. He's leading the league in shutouts and save percentage and all that good stuff. But, I think that they bought into it. They realized that last year sucked, and they have more talent than that, and they all knew it. Now, that being said, there's a couple guys that still aren't performing the way they should. And so you don't hold your breath, though. You just ride it out while you can and keep playing the way you can and enjoy the high while it's there, because the pressure comes later. The thing that I think is different between the Flames and the Oilers this year is that the Oilers have everything to lose and the Flames have nothing to lose.
Oh, I totally agree.
Because the pressure on the Oilers now is massively pressure on McDavid, let's say, is massively building. Year 7.
Can we say that out loud? Can we say that out loud too? Is that anybody that says differently? This kid, it has to win 2 to 3 Stanley Cups before he could be put in the same conversation of Gretzky, Lemieux, Crosby, Ovechkin. Can we say that? Because
I honestly think he needs one. I think he needs one for sure. If he doesn't get it, I think he's a Pavel Bure. I agree.
Oh
man,
some of the stuff he's doing though.
It's incredible.
I've never
There's
seen.
no question. He gets better and better.
Seen it. Yeah, I've never seen it before.
And so you can't argue that. But to me, the best players in the NHL were the best leaders in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's why, again, I'm a little homer on this one, but that's why I actually think Jarome Iginla was more valuable than McDavid was. at this point.
At this time, yeah, I agree.
Because Jerome McGinnis took a team that was absolute shit and elevated them to a
the
place
next
that,
level.
you know,
Yes.
they went Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final. And were competitive for a long time because he imparted that into the rest of the team.
And then everybody inspired to be like him.
Everyone wanted to play for Jerome, and that's how it was. Like you got to remember, you had one of the hardest ass coaches in there, but it didn't matter because Jerome was there, and Jerome led by example, and Jerome did all the things that nobody wanted to do. He did them all himself. He led everybody. He led every practice. He went out there and was the leader, and I think McDavid's starting to get there, but I also think he's incredibly awkward. Like I watched that
as a human being.
As a human, like, and again, I get it because you get taken away from your home when you're young and you have to live, you know, and all you end up doing is thinking about hockey. So you watch that thing where they go into his house and like he's super uncomfortable. Like you can tell like how uncomfortable.
I can't even believe they talked him into it.
Yeah, I mean, it was his girlfriend because of her business she's trying to promote. But you know,
she's smart.
Yeah, absolutely. That's her role. And again, in regular life, that would be fine. But he's playing in the NHL where he is required almost to be that leader. Now, it never used to be that way. You used to be able to get a guy that could be that leader where your star didn't have to be so much.
Yes.
And take that pressure off. But in this scenario, nobody's stepping up to the plate, I don't think.
Well, they arguably got the two best players in the NHL.
Yeah.
Arguably the two best players in the NHL.
Right.
So if you can't win the Stanley Cup with the two best players in the NHL, and you have a pretty decent supporting cast, that's gonna be a problem, especially this year. This year especially, there's something about the smell of this team that thinks people that maybe the start of it has gave people that crazy hope. But as my father would always say, wait till after Christmas.
Yeah, I always say wait till after Christmas.
Wait till after Christmas.
Mid-January, end of January is when I always see what teams really are made of because that's the crunch time. That's the time when you're getting tired. There's that lull before the playoff push happens where you've played already a lot. You don't get a break for a while. You just came off a break, so you're slow, and you have to start grinding out road games in the middle of winter. Like, that's where it really
time changes.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
East Coast, West Coast. You know,
so we'll see what happens then, because that's the thing. Like, and if he can, now again, I do think he can do it. I do think he has the potential to lift the cup. I absolutely do. I think the Oilers do. I do think they need a new goalie, and I know that one that they have right now they're all hyped about, but he isn't going to be a number one. Yeah, like he's got the new buzz. Like, he isn't a longevity goalie. Wait till he plays 20 games. Like, that's what happens all the time with these guys.
Yeah, you can't
bring in a guy
that.
for 5 games and they're great. Like, wow, look at this guy. And then he plays 5, 10, 15, and then all of a sudden it starts plummeting downhill.
Jesse, too, it's also about who they play. Because you can play 2 or 3 slack teams in a row. All of a sudden he's 3-0, and everybody's going crazy.
They got canned by Buffalo.
Yeah,
out of the blue, right? Like, you know, so there's one of those things where you're like, oh, hold on here. That should have been a cakewalk for you guys.
Correct.
But the goalie played horrible. He played really bad. He let in 3 horrible goals. So you're like, okay, you got to remember here. You know, you're riding, and the same with the Flames. You're playing great, but you got to keep doing these things now, and you can't just rely. I do think they need to go out and get a goalie. I do think they still need to go out and get another defenseman. And if they
1-1, yeah, 1-1, yeah.
If they do, they could be actual. I mean, they are contenders right now. There's no question, but they could actually be big threats. It's funny though because the playoffs are, like we know, are a different story. And I don't know if they're built for that. I don't know if they're built for that playoff. Like, when you look at the Lightning, and you look at the Bruins, you look at those teams, and even the Jets. Like, they're struggled against the Jets.
The Jets give them problems. They do.
And it's like they're big, and they don't back down. They McDavid comes out and says "F you," and they're like "F you" right back, bro. And
they don't care.
And it's
no one
one of
cares
those
anymore.
things. It's built a little different, and you can see like that's. To me, that was always a good sign of a good team, is when a team built for the Stanley Cup versus a team that built to hopefully make the playoffs. Do you get what I mean there? Like, there's teams out there that built to win the Stanley Cup. Like they were building
totally
that
agree.
we can
I
go
totally agree.
deep in this
What,
thing.
what about the veteran players that are on some of these teams now that aren't doing very well, and then all of a sudden, come playoff time, they step up.
Shine.
It's like they're like 35, 36 years old.
Well, they know.
And then, they saved their gas tank for the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you go, what? Why did he just wake up? And it's like, no, he didn't wake up. This is what's been going on now. You watch it year after year. They got that.
What's
guy.
Duncan Keith done this year?
Correct. There's a guy that they're waiting for. If they get to the playoffs, he better do something spectacular.
Yeah, because as I said, he wasn't going to do much in this regular season part.
That's what I thought.
If he's there come playoff time, that's when he could be very valuable.
Yeah, and if he's not going to be here next year, right?
Yes,
so
correct.
And basically you exit stage left. Then your career's finished because no other team's going to put the bankroll on you after they're watching you do that in Edmonton.
This is really the chance to be. He should be the leader. Like,
yeah,
it's one of those things, right? And that is, I think, what they brought him in for. It just isn't panning out to me. But
it's not. No.
Again, like, I know people would argue that, but hey, when you look at it objectively, you can see, like, yeah, this isn't what it was supposed to be. You need a guy, and I want to say, I know people hate him, but Corey Perry would come in on this team and play in a third, fourth line and actually, elevate some people around.
Well, we're finding that out too. What are we finding that out too now about fourth line? How you can pretend like you don't need one, and you don't need one during the regular season. But man, oh man, I've yet to see anybody win the Stanley Cup without a fourth line.
Yeah, that scores one of those big goals in a game.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in the last 10 years.
You got to remember, you always, that changes the momentum of a series. Like a fourth liner goes out there and scores. Like it is one of those things that really does it well. It really does change the momentum of things. And putting Cassian on the first line doesn't mean that it's a fourth line scoring. So that's a different thing. That doesn't count.
So over the last 11 months, who's been your favorite guest on the show?
A lot stick out in my mind, but I will say Kelly Hrudey probably was.
Kelly Hrudey was great.
Was it's hard to rank them, but yeah.
No, I'm not saying for you to rank them. I'm just saying it's like who would be your your not just your favorite guest, like ones that really stick out in your mind.
Yeah, Kelly definitely did. Oh man, so many. Donald DJ Penn was great.
Yeah.
Eric Harris was great. Man, who else? Who did you like?
Well, I like Laval Saint Germain just because
that's right.
Because of the Everest connection. And then I love Donald Penn. I still get a kick out of when Donald Penn was on the show. Donald Penn, 3-time Pro Bowler, Raider, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, all the way great human being. And I asked him the question, and I said, "Hey, is it true, Donald, that you can't swear in the huddle?" Right?
Yeah.
And 10 minutes before that, he said, "I don't like to cuss on interviews. I don't swear on interviews." And the second I asked that question, I said, "Donald, is it true that Derek Carr doesn't let anybody swear in the huddle?" And then he dropped about 47 F-bombs after that on the show. And I thought that was just the funniest thing ever. And then you have guys like, don't forget, we have people like George Larocque that came on the show that said when he was 9 years old, riding his bike to play hockey in Montreal, and he would be playing in the arena, that parents were calling him the N-word while he was playing. And I thought, wow, man, that's in Canada. You know what I mean? And that wasn't that long ago. You know what I'm saying? And he said that on the show, and that really bothered me, and it bothered me to this day. And a lot of guys have said certain things on the show, like we don't forget, we had Matt Brown on the show. I mean, Matt Brown saying right on the show, like he was addicted to methamphetamines, and, he was brought back from the dead. And it's like, wow. I mean, some
Boss
of the guests
was also another great guest.
I mean, come on. I mean, the stories. Boss should do a fireside chat. Like he should sit with a book in his hand and a fireside and a pipe in his mouth and tell stories about just the crazy stories.
Omar was a great one.
Oh, you think, and our dear friend Jelena Martineau, 8-time world champion, was on the show too. Great on the show. But Omar Benson was on the show, and he was just a fantastic guest. Like I said, there's just so many that stick out, like when you go down the list of people that have been on this show, I thought someone that I thought was, was just a total gentleman. Toss Ricketts.
Oh, Toss was great.
From the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny too about Toss too? He said, because lots of people on our show say, "Oh, I'll send you this, I'll send you that," and we don't ask people to send us stuff, right? But he really did. He sent us jerseys with our names on them.
So and mine's over there, yeah.
Yeah, just fantastic.
What I'm gonna do in the new year, let the cat out of it. I'm making a big set back here with all cool stuff.
Yeah.
And his jersey's gonna be up there.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you got to think too, like what happened on our show that I never knew would happen over the past 10, 11 months, people talking about mental illness. I mean, from people like Caroline Schved, she came on the show too. She was, worked with Sportsnet and just a beautiful human being. Right. And she left Sportsnet because she wanted to kind of get her mind right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to work on her mental health. And Caroline is just, she lives in our city now too. And she's just,
Michael Landsberg. I mean, again, again, there's so honestly, everybody we had on the show, we could have another round of, which we probably will.
But we haven't though, and that's something that people that on the Me and Jesse podcast we have not repeated a guest.
It's been a repeat guest this year,
and not one in the first year.
In all honesty, I do want to say this: Mark really puts himself out there. He gets these guests. I don't know how he does it, but he's like he calls me, "Hey, I got this guy." I'm like, "Holy moly! I don't know how you pulled that off." So he's really amazing at it. So if you know someone, help him out and send a message saying, "Hey, I know this guy. You want him on the show."
And you know what? We've had people that have referred other people to our shows, and that's been great. And like I said, I think there's a trick to all this. I think, the first year of our sports podcast is coming another month. It's been 1 year that we've done it. And I thought, it's great. We have a huge sponsor in Crystal Glass. I mean, Crystal Glass is a huge glass company in Western Canada that basically is between British Columbia, Alberta and Saskatchewan, run by a dear friend of ours, Ken Franchuk. He's the GM of the company, and Ed Bean is the founder, still alive. I mean, he's a treat. I run like a little girl every time I see him to get a picture with him. Just an awesome guy. And they're a major sponsor of the Me and Jesse podcast. And in the new year, we will be seeking more sponsorship from different businesses because that's what makes this thing tick. This is what makes this thing function. I mean, this is what makes this thing go the next level. And I think it will go the next level. I mean, I've always believed that. And I think between the guests that we have from the boxing world, UFC, NFL, Major League Baseball, we had Jacob Robson on the show this year, and he was great too. And like I said, it's just a collective group of people. And that's another thing that everybody has to understand at home. It's not easy to get guests for the Me and Jesse podcast, and I'll tell you why it's not easy. We can get everybody that plays in the NHL right now on the Me and Jesse podcast. In fact, they've messaged us to be on the show. And I've told you this 100 times. If they don't have a twist or turn or something different, they cannot be on the Me and Jesse podcast. We can't have a traditional interview with a hockey player today that's going to tell us, we skate hard. We go both ways. It's fantastic. Yes, this is how. No, that's not what we're looking for. It's great that they're from the NFL, but we want to know their story. It's great they're from the NHL, but we want to know their story. It's great they're from, UFC. I mean, the UFC guys that were on our show, everybody from Sam Elvey to Matt Brown to, hey, Cyril Gann, the heavy, one of the
will be the heavyweight champ.
Yeah, heavyweight
is
champ
already.
He's the interim champ right now. I mean, from Paris, France. I mean, the UFC guests have been crazy, and then guys like AJ McKee, who
Bellator number one. Really pound for pound best in the world, probably.
Best 145er on the planet. Yeah. And I told that to everybody, and they're like, oh, listen, there's one thing I know better than 99.9% of people in the entire world, and that's MMA. And I'm telling you, AJ McKee is the best 145-pounder on the planet and possibly the best 155er when he decides to be, because he knows things that others don't.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But these are these great guests, and you will see some repeats in 2022, but you will see new guests constantly. And on occasion these unplugged versions to kind of catch up
Yeah.
to people and let them know what's going on. I want to do one shameless plug though
Sure.
for my Everest in Edmonton
Yes.
charity that's coming up. Everest in Edmonton is a charity I started last year with Sean Obrowski, and him and I raised $13,000 for breast cancer our first year, and it took us 2 weeks to raise $13,000.
Yeah.
It consists of 44.5 kilometer through the river valley, up and down, all around. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. Easily. Like, it was really hard. So I said, you know what? We're turning this into a charity. Now this year, we're doing it for myeloma cancer. And we just had a donation yesterday of $5,000.
Wow.
So what I'm trying to tell people is I think I finally figured out my vocation in life.
Yeah.
Yes, I own the MFC. Yes, I own a marketing company. Yes, I love my kids. Yes, husband, wife, great podcast, all this stuff. I think on my tombstone, I wanted to say the most important thing of all. I don't want to say it out loud because I always thought it was goofy when people called themselves that. But the P word, okay? So I'm not going to say it, okay? Because I'm not that yet. I want to raise so much money for charities, and not one charity, for all charities, through hiking. Which is which as you found fly fishing your love, I found hiking in the cold. Yeah. I do hike in the sun in the summer, but I don't enjoy it. I enjoy it in the cold.
Wow.
And I it's weird. Ask me why this happened. I don't know why, but we're raising money for charities. It's everestinedmonton.com. You can go there, donate to myeloma cancer. And the funny part is when we did myeloma cancer this year, Sean looked at me and said, you know what? I don't know anybody with myeloma cancer. Until we announced it was for myeloma cancer, we've received hundreds of people messaging us that their parents have it, their uncle has it, their friend has it, people they know have had it. And you know that Jacob Robson that was on our show that plays for the Tigers, his grandfather died from myeloma cancer. So Jack Schroeder, who was just the Tom Selleck of Tom Sellecks. So I'm telling you, and I've never plugged it on the show, but I want people to know about this because my wife is yelling at me that she said, it's time for you to get back on your soapbox and let people know the greatness of what you're doing. And I said, it's not greatness about what I'm doing. It's what it's going to bring to help people with cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Make sure you head over there, everestinedmonton.com, and donate today. And hey, maybe even take part in that event.
Yes, and like I said, get ready.
Sounds like there's going to be more than just you and one other person doing it this year.
There's going to be more people this year, and I tell people this too. No, you can't bring a relay team. You can't have 4 or 5 people do it like as a relay.
It's not set up for that yet.
It'll never be set up.
Never set up.
You come as an individual. It's called Everest in Edmonton, 44.5 kilometers, February 26, 2022. All for myeloma cancer.
Well, everybody, thanks once again for, we'll probably have at least one more show before the end of the year, but
of course.
Christmas is coming. But thanks so much for watching. Thanks, Crystal Glass, again for sponsoring 310 Glass for all your glass needs. Thank you for all the guests that we've had already this year. It's been incredible.
Crazy.
It's crazy. Like when you think like, oh, I just spent an hour with that person, you're like, you never would have thought that would happen. No. And the weird thing is that the whole, Mark and I used to do this in person at his house in the studio we set up. And then COVID happened, and we figured out a way to do this through streaming, and it actually opened the door to have guests from all over the place.
Crazy.
Where we couldn't do that before. There's no way we could have guests come in all the time. So it's actually opened up. It's, there's a silver lining in everything is what I'm trying to point at. And it's been one of the good parts of that thing when it's opened up. So until next time. That's Mark Pavelich. I'm Jesse Martineau. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast. Hey, a few more weeks of 2021. Let's at least make these ones enjoyable, eh?
Hey, man, that's it.
Jeez. It's been another rough one, but hey, hopefully things get better soon. We'll see you next time on Me and Jesse podcast.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/meandjesse. Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/meandjesse.